everyone, Pam Gregory, astrologer. I'm going to be speaking to you today about the second half of November and the new moon that we have coming up in Sagittarius on the 26th. Now, one of the big events in this second half of November, and I mentioned it in the last video, is Jupiter coming to conjunct the galactic center. 27 of Sagittarius. Now, Jupiter does this every 12 years, but the galactic center is like a portal for us to align to much higher cosmic consciousness. And when Jupiter comes to this point, that can help to align us, to connect us to that much higher level of cosmic consciousness. So it's a brilliant opportunity to do that. Now, this aspect may bring in new galactic news, new space news of some kind, evidence of life beyond this earth, that sort of thing. But mainly, this is for you to really connect to that higher level of being. So this happens between the 19th and the 23rd of the month, but really we'll feel it a few days to either side of those dates as well. So galactic center energy, if people have planets natally or angles natally at 27 degrees of Sagittarius, they tend to be super sensitive to energy, very psychically sensitive. They may look younger than their years. They often work with energy healing, etc. When we have this opportunity by transit, we can really start to access parts of ourselves that we haven't been able to before, because galactic center energy is very connected to the root chakra, to Kundalini energy. So this is an excellent time over those few days to find an opportunity to meditate, especially if you're sitting on the earth, connect to the earth, do strong breath work. That's a great way to get Kundalini energy moving, or obviously do Kundalini yoga as well. All ways to really connect into that shift in consciousness that Kundalini energy can give us. But it can really open up our perspective, and the information can come through from the galactic center incredibly fast, sort of fractal bundles in less than a second. So be sure you can kind of register them and record them in some way, and then just watch in the coming days and weeks what kind of shift of perspective, energy and understanding that has given you. So really recommend you do this in whatever way seems appropriate for you. Then on the 20th of the month, Mercury goes direct. After 3 weeks of being retrograde, it goes direct at 11 degrees of Scorpio. Now, while it's been moving retrograde over the last 3 weeks, Scorpio is the sign very connected to secrets, and secrets which can be a little bit underhand in some way. So it's been a great opportunity for secrets coming to light. And indeed, while Mercury remains in Scorpio in general, that can also continue to happen. And there could be secrets that in some way feed into, as Jupiter moves through the last few degrees of Sagittarius, some legal situation that is high profile in the world. It can be that sort of thing. Then on the 24th of the month, we have two very different energies operating. One is Mars exactly opposite Uranus. Mars at 3 of Scorpio opposing Uranus at 3 of Taurus. Now, this is a sort of classical signature for an earthquake or a volcano, something like that. You know, if you're looking at volcanoes and earthquakes, those are the planets that you tend to see, particularly when Uranus is in an earth sign as well. It's literal physical happening, because this is sudden, unexpected energy. It can create a great release of tension, hence the earth events that can occur. Mars in Scorpio can continue to dig up secrets, which may be shocking Uranus, but generally this can create sudden opportunities for us that just come out of the blue, that can be very helpful. This aspect is also excellent for finding new ways to do old things, particularly if you're using the internet in a different way. That's very connected to Uranus. So that's one feeling of energy on the 24th. The other is very different. This is Jupiter conjunct Venus at 28 of Sagittarius. So this is still actually conjunct the galactic center by a degree. And whenever you get these conjunctions between Jupiter and Venus, they are really positive in terms of, if you see where 28 of Sagittarius falls in your chart, but also if you have any planets or angles between 26, 29 degrees of the fire signs, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, you will be likely to benefit from this, and see which houses they fall into. So it can bring you success, it can bring some money in, it can bring recognition or prominence in some ways. Very optimistic as well. And this conjunction continues into the new moon that we have on the 26th of the month. This new moon is at 4 degrees and 3 minutes of Sagittarius. It happens at 7:05 a.m. Pacific and 3:05 p.m. UK time. Now, Sagittarius is an incredibly optimistic, outward-going sign, loves big horizons, loves to pursue metaphysical things and higher consciousness subjects, but it always wants to lift our vision, if you like, to something bigger and better. New moons every month are a great opportunity also to set a new intention for how you want this new seed, this new beginning to manifest in your life. So see where 4 degrees of Sagittarius falls in your chart, and condition your intention by the house area where it falls. You know, for instance, if it's falling in your 11th house of friendship groups, you're going to set a different intention as to if it's falling in your 4th house of the home and the family. You know, it's a completely different area of life. So knowing where these aspects, these new moons, these full moons that I talk about fall in your chart is really important if you want to understand any personal meaning for you. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can download a free birth chart from my website. You can click on this link above and you can get a 2-part tutorial video series that will explain exactly the answer to that question. What does this mean for me? Exactly how to find, for instance, 4 degrees of Sagittarius and what it means for you. Okay, so that'll be super helpful for you just to start to get more out of these updates in your personal life, but also understand the basics of the chart. So as I say, this very positive conjunction between Venus and Jupiter continues into the new moon. By then, Venus has moved on to 0 degrees of the cardinal signs of Capricorn, and Jupiter is still at 28 of Sagittarius, but they are both essentially on the world axis. The world axis is at 0 degrees of the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. So they can be up to 2 degrees of the cardinal signs and up to, going backwards, 28 degrees of the mutable signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces. So if you have any planets around there, you may again find something very positive happening for you around this new moon that kind of puts you out onto the public stage in a bigger way as well. Might be an interesting time for currencies, stock markets, because Venus rules those as well. So that's an important part of what we're going to be seeing at this new moon in Sagittarius. We also have some very positive trines coming up, positive aspects. We have a beautiful trine between Mercury at 14 of Scorpio and Neptune at 15 of Pisces. This is about our imagination, our creativity, being easily able to move to an altered state of being, a shifted perception that is so helpful for us to be creative. It's really a connection to source. In addition, we have Venus at 0 of Capricorn trining Uranus at 3 of Taurus. This is also highly creative. It's very original because it helps you see things from an oblique point of view, a different point of view, or finding beauty in things that other people find ugly. It's that kind of different point of view. In addition to that, we have Jupiter in trine to Uranus. And this is it's an out of sign because Jupiter's still at 28 of Sagittarius, Uranus is at 3 of Taurus, but it's still an operational trine. And this is great for really wanting a sense of freedom, of breaking out, of actually leaving behind your responsibilities and burdens, and it can bring in some very exciting opportunities for us. It can also help to expand Jupiter, your consciousness, Uranus. Uranus is very much a fourth dimensional planet, where we break free of 3D reality and we can see things from a completely different point of view. So as I say, sudden new opportunities can come in for you. Travel opportunities can be study opportunities to study higher consciousness subjects, and it feels very exciting. Also, Uranus is in an exact quincunx pretty much to the Sun and the Moon. Now this really continues a theme from the end of October, because our new moon in Scorpio on the 28th of October was opposing the Sun and Moon. This time it's quincunx, exactly, the Sun and the Moon. And Uranus is always about breaking free, breaking through, breaking up stale, deadening routines and patterns of being. And it is never linear, it's never gradual. It really encourages us to take a risk, step out, do it differently, break away from what you've always done, the predictable. So it can be disruptive, it can feel exciting. If we make the change consciously from the inside, it is much more comfortable than those changes suddenly coming at us from the outside. So really be aware of that, to really go with the change. And again, watch where Uranus is moving through your chart. Remember, Uranus is moving through Taurus for another 7 years until 2026. So it's a very slow moving. So it will stay in one house for 7 years. Okay, so be aware of that. It's not fast moving. What's very interesting through the second half of November is that Jupiter and Uranus are very highlighted. They're very emphasized. Jupiter is in its own sign. It's conjunct the galactic center, which is so powerful to shift our consciousness. It's also ruler of this Sagittarius new moon as well. Just one other thing I wanted to mention about the galactic center before we move on to Uranus. I've mentioned before that our entire solar system is spinning out of an area where it's been for as long as we know, long as recorded time, in a protective area of magnetic cloud. Our whole solar system is now spinning into an area where that no longer exists. And therefore, a lot of new cosmic and galactic energy is coming in for us that we've never experienced before. That, in part, is contributing to these very radical shifts of consciousness that people are experiencing at this time. So that's part of the picture. Okay, so Jupiter strongly emphasized in this second half, but so is Uranus. Uranus, because it's quincunx the Sun and the Moon, it's trine to Venus, it's opposing Mars on the 24th, so that is highlighted too. And as I say, that is the real planet of awakening and fourth dimensional reality. Now, both of these planets are pretty idealistic. They are both very future oriented. They see the world in bigger and better possibilities if we can move out of where we are, from this kind of density that we're in. So they have a feeling of excitement about them, and both are linked in their various ways to higher consciousness as well. So we are, I feel very strongly, at a fork in the road. I was saying this in a talk earlier that I gave earlier this week, that we have two very different streams of energy. We have the Saturn-Pluto energy in Capricorn, which I think everyone feels is very contracted and dense, and that is very much connected to, as I've talked many times in the videos, and I go into more detail in my newsletters, the collapse of the old order, the collapse of the patriarchy, the old political and power systems that we've known for many, many years. They are supposed to be dysfunctional. They are supposed to be not working and collapsing around our ears in ways that we haven't experienced before. So don't get caught up in the drama. Don't get caught up in the negativity. Know that that is a process which is part, particularly of Pluto in Capricorn, that it has to deconstruct power systems in order to reconstruct. And then we'll move into something very, very different by the mid-20s. But that feels very dense and contracted. We can all feel it. And we are moving into eclipse season in December and January too. However, we have this surge of high level energy, galactic center, Jupiter, Uranus, that is like a tsunami, a wave taking us to somewhere different. And what's tricky for us as human beings is Saturn-Pluto is the known. Saturn-Pluto is the past. Saturn-Pluto is the way things have always been. Saturn-Pluto is very real to us because we've lived through it and we understand all that sort of structural stuff because it's been part of our lives for a very long time. Dense, it's real, it's 3D. Whereas this tsunami of new energy is invisible. It's unknown, it's unfamiliar by definition. And that can always feel very scary. But our energy follows our attention. So wherever we're putting our attention, our energy is going to follow. So we can either put our attention on the drama, the negativity, the density, and we will get more of that coming back to us in our lives, because that's how the universe works. It's just like a mirror. You get more of what you think about all day long. Or we can dare to ride the wave, to hitch our wagon to the higher star and trust the unknown, the unfamiliar, but the quantum leap in consciousness, which is promised in this second half of November. It's very exciting. And many people are hitching their wagon to that fork in the road, because I have a very strong sense that we are at this fork right now and we have a clear choice. And at the moment, we can kind of hop between the two. We can hop between 3D, feeling gloomy at times in our day, and then we can kind of buck ourselves up and get onto the 5D path. But the paths will increasingly diverge. That's my sense. And I don't have a time scale on that at all, but I have a very deep sense of that we are going to have to make our choice of where our focus is and where our energy goes. And the great thought leaders of our time, and I was reminded of this just the other day by reading something from Dr. Bruce Lipton, who was saying that even if 1% of the population can shift their consciousness, because positive consciousness, positive vibration is so much more powerful than the negative. There's a function of downward causation, which means that the whole field of consciousness shifts in a positive direction. And all of the astrological aspects I talk about every couple of weeks, by definition, will manifest in a more positive way, because it isn't, as you know, I feel this strongly, it isn't just the pattern that manifests, it's the level of consciousness that determines how they will play out in the world. So an incredibly exciting time, and what helps our sense of idealism, our connection to source, our desire for unconditional love and to live in that bliss bubble, is on the 27th of the month, Neptune becomes stationary direct. So Neptune symbolism will be very highlighted in those last few days of the month, but that is reminding us there is a more perfect reality that we can choose. I actually believe that we're shifting timelines in every moment, depending on our frequency. All through our days, we're shifting our timelines. And if we become more conscious of that, we can deliberately choose to keep shifting up the ladder, shifting up the vibrations. So that becomes our pattern to shift towards source, because that's where we're going to find a very different future from our 3D past. So we're talking about a quantum leap here that is super exciting. I hope that's made sense to you. If you'd like more information about my books, my teaching videos, you can go to my website, pamgregory.com. Teaching videos are on the products page. I mentioned in the last couple of videos, I've recently filmed some more teaching videos called Astrological Synthesis to help people with that feeling of complete overload when they look at all the information in a birth chart, to help them with that. And I'll put the link for that below as well. My newsletters, I'm going into really, I think, some very helpful detail of things that people are particularly interested in that I just can't share all the analysis in detail in the videos. So that's what I use my newsletters for as well. So hope all that's been helpful, and don't forget to set your new intention at this very, very powerful new beginning, new moon in Sagittarius on the 26th. Thanks so much for listening, and bye for now.
you.